each step in the research process. Huzzah! Now let's take a moment to review before you take the final quiz. Remember, you only get one attempt. One of the most important steps is to identify your topic and define your research need. After all, every search begins with an information need. Once you have an idea of what aspect of your topic that you want to explore, you need to determine the scope of the assignment. There's a big difference between searching for 10 scholarly peer-reviewed sources and 3 credible sources. You also learned that taking the time to locate and read some background information on your topic can save you time and frustration in the long run. And who doesn't want to save time? You also learned some basic and advanced search strategies, such as how to use and, or, and not effectively. You mastered the idea of starting broad and gradually adding limiters to refine your results. Most importantly, you learned how to use the library's OneSearch tool. That's a lot of information. Do we expect you to remember everything? Of course not. That's why you can call on the librarians, your information professionals, at any stage of the research process. Don't forget, you don't have only one option to get help. Librarians are available in person, by phone, by email, and by chat. We are here to help you in any way we can. And now it's time for you to take the final quiz. I can't wait to see what you've learned. Now that we've gained all of this great knowledge, let's take a look at how we can implement that in our OneSearch. OneSearch is our academic Google, so it's going to look through a majority of everything that we have to offer for students, whether it's databases, books, ebooks, newspapers, magazine articles. It covers about 95% of what we subscribe to, so it's a great place to get started. I'm going to use the OneSearch tab and enter my term, which is social. Implement that in our OneSearch. OneSearch is our academic Google, so it's going to look through a majority of everything that we have to offer for students, whether it's databases, books, ebooks, newspapers, magazine articles. It covers about 95% of what we subscribe to, so it's a great place to get started. I'm going to use the OneSearch tab and enter my term, which is social media, and search. Remember, I want to start with that keyword search and start broad. Now that I have some results, the first thing that I notice is the research starter. Remember, I want to start with that background information, so I'm just going to open it up. Now, if I didn't know much about social media, this would be a really good opportunity for me to understand it, to get a timeline, find out what maybe some issues are, and again, use that bibliography. So if I wanted to go ahead and grab some sources from here, I could look to see if we have them here in the library as well. So I'm going to go back. And remember what we talked about earlier? If I want to build a really powerful search, I need to move from this basic search to an advanced search. And the advanced search option is right underneath your search term up to the top. Based upon that research question, maybe I'm going to be looking at mental health. And I'll search again. Anytime you add or change a search term, you want to click on search. You want to make sure that you're not going too far afield, because if you put in a whole bunch of terms without searching in between, you may get 0 results and then, oops, which was the term that threw me out? Now, if I wanted to take a look at some of these, I could. But I've glanced through some of the titles and I need to make a decision. Is it just the big broad term of mental health, or am I looking for something specific? Now, based upon what I've seen, because you're going to continue to look at results, I don't want just mental health. I'm going to look at social media and loneliness. You have to spell it correctly. And search again. So I have 803 results. But let's think back. Similar terms. For me, I don't want to just have things that are mentioning social media, because not every article that I might be interested in will use that term. So I'm going to add social media or Facebook or Instagram. Because maybe in my head, I have a feeling that those particular social media platforms, Facebook and Instagram, are causing people to be lonely. And I'll search again. Remember, select that search button every time you change your search. And notice that we have a different number of search results. But I'm going to think about my idea of similar terms. For loneliness, as soon as I type in the or, it gives me a drop-down list. I'm going to choose this one here, loneliness or social isolation or lonely. Remember, or is going to give me more, but the and connecting the two is going to reduce results. So now I have 4,458. I've got to figure out how to manage these results. What about phrase searching? I have some phrases up here. Remember, phrase searching is when you put the terms in quotation marks to let the database know that you want these words in this order, and I'll search again. That got rid of more than 1,000. Social isolation is a phrase. I'll also put that in quotation marks. That got rid of another 1,000.
but I still have a whole bunch. I've got 2,614. Maybe my particular focus is not on everybody using social media, but I'm going to use this third box and narrow it down to college students. Because as a librarian at a community college, I'm worried about what social media is doing to the students. And always search again. Wow. So I went from 4,500 results to 54 pretty darn quick. But remember I promised you that there's some other limiters that we hadn't already discussed? One of those is the publication date. I do not want to go all the way back to 1985. So I'm going to move this over. I'm going to try to just get to 2015. So I'll get the last 5 years. Okay, now I have 25 results. I'm really feeling good because I only need 3 for my paper. Another limiter that I might put on is I just want things that are in academic journals. My instructor has said it needs to be credible, it needs to be academic, so I'm going to put that limiter on. Wow. Now I have 10 results. And if I take a look down here at the subjects, I see that loneliness is on there, I see that Facebook is on there, I see that college students is on there. It's got everything that I need. Now one thing that I can do at this point is to take a quick look at the abstract, and I can do that by putting my cursor over the magnifying glass, and there's the abstract. Pretty darn simple. I can read the abstract, and remember that abstract is like the movie trailer for this particular article. It's going to give the high points, what it's about. If I decide that I like it, I'm going to select the title, and I'm going to email it to myself, because I don't want to lose this search. I worked too hard for it. Change my citation format. I'm using MLA. I can give it a subject. This is just article 1 and send. Now that article is just waiting for me in my email. I can take a look at the next article. If I like this particular abstract, I can email it to myself. If I don't like it, move on. I can go to the next one. Magnifying glass, bring up the abstract. I like it, so I'm going to email it to myself. Make sure that I change my citation format. This is subject, this is number 2, and I'm sending it to myself. So as you can see, we did a lot of research in a short period of time. Now, I know that you can't remember all of this. You can always come back and take a look at the guided search that we just did. You can certainly ask a librarian, that's what we're here for. And you can also just get in there and perform some searches. The more you practice, the better you'll get. So that was a quick and painless way to use our OneSearch. And now it's time to answer some questions. Strategies. Using these strategies will help you get started and refine your searching. Remember, you always want to start broad, so let's begin with keyword searching. Keep in mind, databases do not play well with complete sentences. A keyword search focuses on the main concept and uses simple everyday language. Start with that one idea. Some examples of keyword terms would be climate change, heart attack, or zombies. That's right, zombies can be a keyword. Think back to the research question we crafted before. What effects does social media have on people's mental health? I wouldn't want to type this whole question into a database search box. Instead, I would consider the main concepts, social media and mental health. With our keyword in mind, we should consider some similar terms or synonyms. Why? Because not every article about your topic will use the same keyword. Ask yourself, what other words could the author use to describe this concept? For example, one article about zombies may use the term zombie, while another uses living dead. It's a good idea to make a list of similar terms before you start searching. Here's my list for zombies. Zombies, walkers, living dead. Which leads us to the next tool in our search strategy toolbox. Boolean operators. I know, library jargon. The Boolean operators are and or not. When you use them in library databases, they can make your searches more precise, which can save you time. Let's start with and. And narrows a search by telling the database that all keywords must appear in the source. For example, if I search for zombies and vampires, my search would only retrieve materials that mention both terms. This search would not retrieve any results that discussed only zombies or only vampires. It would only retrieve that narrow slice of results that discusses the two. The next Boolean operator is or. Or broadens a search by telling the database that any of the words are acceptable. This is particularly helpful when you're searching for synonyms. For example, not every source is going to use the term zombie. Any Walking Dead or Resident Evil fan knows that there is more than one term for zombie. A good way to structure your similar terms is to use or. For example, zombies or walkers or living dead. This will retrieve maximum results. The final Boolean operator is not. Not narrows your search by telling the database to eliminate all terms that follow. This is useful when you are interested in a very specific aspect of a topic, or if you want to exclude a certain type of sources. For example, if you want sources on zombies but don't want to include any movie reviews, you could structure your search as zombies, not movie reviews. Keep in mind that you should use not with caution since it might remove some good search results. Now that you have a better understanding of Boolean operators, let's look at how to use them in multiple search boxes, which can refine your results. Here's what a basic keyword search looks like. It doesn't give us much to work with. Now let's take a look at what an advanced search can do. With multiple search boxes, we can really get some work done. Let's take a look at how we could structure our zombie vampire search. Now we have a powerful search. Zombies or walkers or living dead, and vampires or bloodsuckers, not movie reviews. Notice how we broaden the search for zombies using or with synonyms, narrow the search with and by adding vampires, broaden the search using or synonyms for vampire, and narrow the search using not for movie reviews. Multiple boxes can make for pretty powerful searching. Let's take a look at another great tool for your research toolbox, phrase searching. Many times the keywords you use consist of more words, such as climate change or gender discrimination. This can be problematic since databases search for individual words, not necessarily two words together. To tell a database that you want to search for these words in this order, you will use phrase searching. Before you panic, let me tell you that phrase searching is simple. All you need to do is place the phrase in quotation marks. Phrase searching is a great way to narrow your results. Next in our box is truncation. I know, more library jargon. Truncation is a technique that broadens your search by using various word endings on a word root. The symbol from truncation may vary according to the database, but they are typically the asterisk or the number symbol. To use truncation, you will select the root word and use a symbol. For example, child asterisk equals child, child's, children, childhood, childish, or childlike. Anything that begins with CHILD. This is where truncation can get tricky. You want to make sure that you use enough of the root word that you don't get bad results. Let's see what happens if we want to search for creativity, but use the term CREAT asterisk. We might get results using creature, creation, create, creating, creator, or creativity. There's a huge difference between creature and creativity, so use truncation carefully. And now let's look at the last tool. Remember, there are other search tools, but we will cover some of those in the next section. For now, let's take a look at subject searching. We know that keyword searches retrieve results that mention the search term. So how do we get to results that are about the search term? Subject searching. Let's take a look at a search. This is a keyword search. Notice that select a field is the same as keyword. Select a field is the default in many databases. This keyword search retrieved 24,939 results. That's a lot of material, and frankly, no one has the time to wade through all that. One way to narrow the results is to look to see if your keyword is a subject term or if there's a better subject term. Looking at the subject associated with a useful article, I see that zombies is a subject term. Now that I know, I can change my search from select a field, the keyword search, to SU subject terms. This time when I search, I have only 5,790 results. It's still quite a bit, but I know that these results are about my topic. Here's a quick review of what we covered in RB5. Keyword searching. Searching using the main concept of your topic using simple everyday words. Always start with a keyword search. Similar terms. Select similar terms or synonyms for your search terms to broaden your results. Not every result will use the same terms. Boolean operators, and or not. Use and to narrow results. Use or to broaden results. Use not to eliminate results. Use multiple search boxes in an advanced search to build your search strategy. Phrase searching. Place your phrase in quotation marks to instruct the database that you want these words in this order. Truncation. Use the root of a word in the truncation symbol, typically an asterisk or number symbol, to retrieve results for any word that begins with the root you selected. Subject searching. Look at the subjects listed for materials that are relevant to your topic. Subject searching narrows results by limiting to materials that are about your topic. What should you do if you're having trouble managing your results? Why, ask a librarian, of course. It's time to answer some questions about basic and advanced search strategies. Part 4 is focused on the need to find background information before you jump into the actual research process for your assignment. I like to call this the pre-search process. Because you may be asked to write about topics that you don't know much about, gaining a baseline knowledge can save you lots of time. You may already do this by Googling your topic or reading a Wikipedia entry. I'm going to advocate that you perform your pre-search using library resources. But first, let's talk about why getting background information is a good thing. Here goes. Background information will give you a broad overview of the topic. If you want to search smarter, not harder, having a basic understanding of your topic will eliminate some of those off-topic searches. Background information can also provide definitions of the topic. Having a definite, clear, distinct interpretation of your topic will help you understand what it is and, sometimes even more importantly, what it is not. Background information is also a way to get an introduction to key issues. For example, if I were searching for information on the opioid crisis without starting with background information, I may not know that there's a correlation between opioid addiction and homelessness. Another plus for starting with background information is that it can provide the names of people who are authorities in the subject field. Then you can search for other publications by the author to add to your sources for your topic. Background information can also provide you with major dates and events. Knowing the timeline is important. In terms of research, starting with background information is invaluable, since it can provide keywords and subject-specific vocabulary terms that you can use when searching databases. For example, if I just search for heart attack, I may not get the sources that I need. But after getting background information, if I search for heart attack or myocardial infarction, the medical term, I'm sure to get great results to choose from. Finally, starting with background information gives you the opportunity to look at some bibliographies. These bibliographies, which consist of a list of references or works cited, can lead you to additional sources for your topic. If someone has already gone to all the trouble of gathering a list of sources, why not use it? Beginning with a bit of pre-search can save you time in the long run. The library has many great sources for background information, including the research starters in OneSearch, Gale Virtual Reference Library, and many hardcover reference books. Remember, if you need assistance locating background information, you can always ask a librarian. And now, please answer the questions about finding background information. We're going to look at the scope of the assignment. The scope is the information requirements. Here are some things to keep in mind when you're determining the scope of the assignment. Make sure you read the assignment instructions carefully to be able to clearly know the scope. For example, what type of assignment is it? A short speech, a 3-page paper, a 15-page paper? Knowing the assignment type will help you decide how much research you will need to perform. Next, look to see how many information sources are needed. Do you just need 3, or does the assignment call for 10? Does your instructor want current information, or will older information be accepted? Pay close attention to this criterion. Many instructors will place a time limit, such as the last 5 years. Does the information need to be from a particular type of publication? For example, do the instructions call for scholarly peer-reviewed sources, credible sources, trade publications, newspapers? When we get to using OneSearch, knowing what type of publications can be used can help you add limiters to your search. Do you need to use primary sources or will secondary sources be accepted? Remember, primary sources are original materials that contain first-hand information. Think about speeches, artwork, diaries, original research, or film documentaries. Secondary sources, on the other hand, are a step removed and explain or analyze primary sources. For example, the play As You Like It is a primary source. A book analyzing the themes in As You Like It would be a secondary source. Next, look to see if there's a format limitation, such as video, audio, internet, print, or personal interviews. Finally, look to see if there's a point of view attached to the assignment. Do you need to present one side of an issue or both? If you're confused about the scope of your assignment, please feel free to ask your instructor for clarification. If your instructor isn't available, why, ask a librarian. We can help you look through the instructions and pull out this information. And now you have a few questions to answer. Process: identifying a topic and defining our information need. I know this seems really basic, but this is a step that students often gloss over. Knowing what information you need to retrieve can make the research process easier. First of all, start broad. Think on the macro level. Now is not the time to laser focus. This is exploration time. And choosing a topic that you are excited about can make a huge difference, not only in the research process, but in the quality of the paper that you turn in for that all-important grade. Your excitement will come through, trust me. Next, engage with your topic. What about it draws you? Let your curiosity run free. Keep asking more and more complex questions, and whatever you do, don't commit too early. Take the time to be Sherlock Holmes. This exploration will help you identify your information need. Let's say that my interest is in the huge topic of social media. I've asked myself some questions about it. What it is, who uses it, when it started, how people engage with it, and what effects it might have. Based on these questions, my information need has become apparent. I am most interested in what effects social media has on people's mental health. This is a great time for me to put that information need into the form of a research question. What effects does social media have on people's mental health? Having this information need will keep me from searching for all of the other information out there about social media, which will save me time and frustration. But what happens if you get stuck? What if you're struggling to come up with that research question? The answer's simple. Ask a librarian. And now you get to answer a few questions about identifying your topic, and it's important to have your notifications set correctly. Remember, the only notification that you will receive on whether or not you passed a workshop is if you have set your notifications to immediately. And it's very simple to do this. On the home page of Canvas, on the left-hand toolbar, go to your account, select Notifications. To select the notifications for the library workshops, use the drop-down menu, select the workshops, and this will show you how you currently have your notification set. Make sure that this is checked to enable notifications for the workshop. Scroll down to grading, and let's look at how it's set up now. Right now it's set at a daily summary. You want to change that to notify immediately. I also suggest that you change your push notifications to notify immediately. That way, when your workshop is scored and you receive a grade on it, it will be pushed out to any device that you have set up for your notifications. And it's as simple as that. Make sure that you set it for notify immediately, and I do suggest that you turn your push notifications on as well. So now that you've done that, it's time to tackle those workshops.